Greetings everyone, Ajon here. Today another highlight for my Computers 2 mod. This one, I went a bit crazy. Are you familiar with the British from Computers 1? You know how the trucks that can pack up and set up? Let's just say I may have implemented that in Computers 2 now for the OKW. Because here, there's a lot of strange things going on, like, oh look, there's an extra icon here. This looks different. There's no buttons underneath my face. Well, that looks the same. And we've got some other unique icons here and there. So, long story short, these are now mobile vehicles. Once they're set up, they can deploy out units. They can pack up, be upgraded, and so they're all the same unit. So, let's go and call it a new truck. You can see here, 300 manpower, 30 fuel. I have some other trucks deployed on the field for demonstration purposes. And as you can see here, there are a number of trucks. Do note I probably need to change this icon. This is sort of like a default, another icon I use for the time being. Probably need to change it to something a little bit special. But this is going to be acting as your forward retreat point and basic infantry deployment. You can start out one already set up here. Yep, as this one getting set on up, you can see here as well. You can also deploy it out into the field as well. Right now, you have to use like a haul down sort of animation state that I've used. It's a little bit custom, nothing too significant. I had to shift the sandbags forward a little bit, that's why it's a little bit custom.
Secure the vehicle. Location set. Begin. Ready for action.
And you can see here, these trucks also do change the icon to the current truck. So, for the time being, since these tabs here, since the tabs are tailored to certain buildings and you can't give types or remove types, so how I'm doing it for now is just removing this entirely, and so now you can just perhaps use hotkeys to quickly select something. Because here, it's now fully set on up, it can actually deploy out some assets. Let's get out some Pioneers.
Pioneers reporting for duty.
You can see here the Pioneers are set on up. I also have a couple upgrades. How I have this set up is that there's 3 usually default items you can deploy on out. For the other trucks, there's also a special item you need to use to activate HQ. Base HQ is a little bit different, but we'll get that to a bit later. So we've seen that one here. Now let's show you the pack-up state. Probably need to make some adjustments to animations. The icon does change a little bit. The deployment icons, the unit icons are no longer available, but you can see the trucks are able to redeploy. It costs as I mentioned beforehand, 330 fuel, and all these are free. So you can set up, pack up, so they're all designed to be based around the initial price of 300 manpower, 30 fuel. The health of these guys have been buffed up to 800, but when deploying the HQs, they still have the exact same 800. So if I were to wound this guy, health, manual hit points, let's go down a half bit. And let's go to the next HQ, Battle Group HQ. You can see here, it maintains the same health. Another couple bugs to mention while this is pulling it out. How I have this done is it's actually more or less the original object's like sort of hidden, and there's another object placed that's like basically see-through, a false object over it. So the click box is a little bit bad. But if you were to right-click or attack on the little decorator here, then you can hit it, attack it, repair it, things that sort as well. So be can have sort of click on the decorator itself rather than the object itself. You can sort of see here I can't repair it all too well. Selecting is a little bit difficult as well based on how I sort of have the thing. So the click box is a little bit off. And the reason why, and this is the initial one, as well as the backup for the initial one will keep it at a weird skewed angle. So that's a couple of small bugs, but nothing too significant. You can see here the Battle Group HQ has different assets deployed on out. Do note as well, since this is the only HQ I deployed on out, this is the retreat point. So units will retreat back automatically to the base I call it the base HQ, but the tier 0 HQ, regardless where on the field, the nearest closest one to it. The Battle Group HQ automatically deploys out medics, so it is expensive, but you can get out medics, but the other options don't really have any healing options. let's go and get this one deployed out to the next one, Mechanized HQ. No good radius. Let's use this one here.
Quickly, we need to secure that area.
You can see here there's a pair of upgrades, so that's sector lockdown. That will actually secure the sector, locking down so enemies cannot capture the sector, as well as increasing the income. It does affect teammates as well. And also we got activate SWS. This will allow you to unlock the heavy asset in that building. So you can actually get Yag Panzers pretty early, give you a bit reminded of the old OKW. But with only limited support items, it can be a bit difficult to hold off. So this is more of defensive style HQ. Tank destroyers are inherently defensive, not offensive, since they are a counter unit. So having a heavy counter unit like this pretty early can be quite effective. It's more of a strategy at this point. You won't be able to have any aggressive pushing items. You will just have aggressive defensive items. But if we go activate SWS, that takes a bit of time to research. But you can see here, now we can pull out the Jagdpanzer 70. And thing as well, if I pack up, the medics die because that was part of that original structure. But it keeps the activated SWS. So you can redeploy it as another HQ and keep that activated SWS. If you come over here to the, and let's take a look at the sector lockdown. It will lock down the sector. And it does increase the income.
Ready to execute quickly.
You can see here the income does go went down. The fuel emissions points are not shared between teammates. But if you put on a regular post sector point, it will go ahead and increases the income. Let's go ahead and deploy up the Flak HQ. You can see here's a +3/+3. And the sector lockdown is also kept when you pack up and deploy. Sorry if this seems a little bit incoherent. You can see here the income went up. It goes up about 1.5 per thing. I'm probably going to need to buff up a little bit, so it's a small amount, but the sector is locked down. So this Flak HQ, which has the gun automatically upgunned, if you don't have to worry about it researching, can't deploy any items, but it can at least it can still lock down sectors. The activate SUS does nothing with Flak HQ.
Crew, stand ready.
Because here the activated thing. So let's go ahead and deploy out the truck that probably reminds you of the original HQ. I used it as the heavy panzer and let the Flak be its own sort of thing.
Crew, stand ready. Command half-track has been permanently established as a static post.
And that audio line's a little bit off now. It's not permanent. But you can even repack up the Flak HQs.
That territory needs to be secured.
You can't move around for that 30 seconds, so it's still a bit vulnerable, but you can pack up, plant HQs, swap them out, keep the activated, and do some HQ swap around. Have a lot of options, just takes quite a bit of micro.
Ready for action. Crew, stand ready.
Oh, I thought I deployed.
Crew,
oh, there it is.
ready.
I forgot where I actually set it down.
Ready for action.
Was it really in front of me the entire time? Never mind. You can see here, this is the last HQ. We can deploy some other objects. This one, if I were to bring up the mechanized...
Quickly, we need to secure that area.
No, let's deploy them all.
That territory needs to be secured. Quickly, we need to secure that
This is the sheer panzer quarters, I guess you could call it. You can deploy Oberslatzen, Panzer IIs, AT Hetzers. These are AT Hetzers. And when activated, you can deploy out the Panzer IV-C. As the other ones deploying out, I'll give a little bit of showcase what each one can do. The Panzer IV-C, of course, is short-barreled and fires arcing projectiles. The activated HQs do cost 60 fuel, so it gets pretty expensive. Losing these active HQs recommend you don't. Losing the SWS half tracks alone, if they're not upgraded, is a tolerable loss. Not really that great though. So it's up to you whether or not you want to be aggressive or not. You can keep these HQs back at home because They work perfectly fine at home, and you can just use your regular play style. Nice and safe, or you can go out adventurous and play like the Brits back in Computer Heroes 1. That's up to you. Yep, and I need to double check the initial one. Sort of, it's a little bit bugged at the moment where it likes to keep stuff around, so I'll work on that. Oh yeah, and the mechanized truck is here. Can deploy out. I did some rearranging for me here in Austria and OKW, so now it's just this structure is purely 251s. You get the 251 half track, the flak half track, which has can fire on the move, the Eagle Owl, and the upgraded one, if activated, is a Stukas. So there's your hack traffic issue. You saw the repair pioneers actually repairing up the structure. They will repair all vehicles, buildings, and support weapons. So if I were to selection, nope, health, menu hit points. You can see here the medics are coming up to heal the models, but these guys actually come up and healed the gun itself. So the repair guys will repair team weapons and heal up nearby structures. And if I demonstrate here, they'll heal by nearby structures, vehicles, and team weapons when they're out of combat. Keyword, out of combat. So they will not repair stuff while in combat. So you can deploy out multiple mechanized HQs and get a lot of repairs for your team, but they cannot be repaired in combat. So not really SimCity, but possible SimCity playstyle. But these guys are vulnerable. If I were to... Let's see. Let's go ahead and get rid of all this. Whoops, hit my microphone. Let's go ahead and get rid of all these stuff. And let's go ahead and bring some hostiles. Oops. Granted, that's the AI being a little bit bad. But you can see here, they're now getting hit. They're starting to hit these HQs and the AT machine gun places. But you can see here, even the bolt action rifles of the Ostroupen are getting some good work in. If I will get this one here. And you can see they're not healing combat, they're not repairing combat. And AT guns do quite a bit of damage right there. 5 shots from AT guns and they're dead. So AT guns can easily push them out of a region, and they don't pack up very quickly. So be careful where you deploy your HQs, because they can be killed quite easily. Yep, you see a carcass there. If I were to deploy back the mechanized HQ, let's go ahead and get back over here. You can see, and one of the last structures I have not mentioned earlier, actually no, here. No, I mentioned this structure. The last structure I haven't mentioned is at the Tier 0 HQ. You see Pioneers, Volksgrenadiers, the Lig, which is a hybrid unit now. Its auto attacks are actually much shorter, but it has more of a direct fire-ish style for its auto attacks. So it's now more like a close range support field gun, but you can always use your indirect fire barrages as well. And if you would like to as well, load armor piercing. So now it's more like a light AT gun now when loaded with armor piercing rounds. It does 135 damage, so it does a light AT gun damage. Has good rate of fire, but it is now a hybrid weapon to help support you in the early game. Won't be a great unit in the late game, but it's a good unit in the early game. And you got the Kubelwagen, which is pretty much the same. Now when all HQs are deployed, and you get the primary HQ activated, you can also requisition the Tiger tank. Why I did for a Tiger tank? One, there's no regular Panzer IV, nor Panther stock available in OKW anymore. So, and I didn't like the King Tiger being like a heavy, bulky, last resort sort of unit. So I decided to move the King Tiger to a doctrine and have the Tiger tank to be non-doctrinal. The Tiger tank in my mod is not as durable as the Tiger tank in the vanilla live game because how my AT guns work and how easier is to pen while having a little bit extra health. So, and in Austere, the Tiger tanks, you can deploy two of them at once. So having a single Tiger tank for OKW will be a general support unit. So once you have all your HQs deployed and have the primary HQ activated, you can now deploy our Tiger tank through the top bar.
Tiger Panzer ready for battle.
So yep, this will be general heavy support while you have a lot of light support. Light support.
Ready for action.
Oh, light support. Sure, the Jagdpanzer is a good tank destroyer, but that's more like a heavy counter unit. Not really. Well, I suppose it is a support unit per se, but it is a nice little support unit there.
Prepare for combat.
Over here, nothing too significant. Sugusfusas give you artillery, so this HQ gives you a heavy artillery.
Crew stand ready.
The Med HQ does give you heavy anti-tank, while the
Crew stand ready.
Panzer quarters will give you heavy anti-infantry, so it gives you a bit more trifecta of which heavy units, while this has more of a theme of heavier support as Oberstossen, Panzer II, and Hetzer, which Hetzer is probably the lightest of all the three, honestly.
Ready for action.
The Battle Group HQ has general light infantry support and MG34, Vakenwerfer, and able to build a flak emplacements. While the mechanized has mechanized units which can either be aggressive or defensive, with the mobile reinforcement, mobile fire support, and mobile spotting. So they're all different, all unique, and all of them have their own set of upgrades. I'll let you all explore that out.
Ready for action.
Yep, and the only thing left I probably need to do for bug fixing is probably the initial one. I try to keep it from holding onto its stuff. It's a little bit finicky, this one. But that's because I have to force it to pre-deploy or convince it to pre-deploy before it actually wants to be deployed, before being deployed naturally. Either way, this is Ajon saying, try it out. Have some fun. Is it balanced? Probably needs some severe balancing. Is it going to be fun? Probably. Enjoy.